You know, I'm big on South African rugby for a number of reasons, right? Not the fact that it was my rite of passage, which it was when I went there as a young man. I played for Natal and
Did
21s in
you?
Durban. Leicester sent me there, so I had a great
Didn't
experience
know
with
that.
the country. So I was there for a season. So there's that part of it. Then there's the human element to it. You've got these vicious savages who cause controlled chaos. But off the pitch, they're religious, they're
They're
warm,
always
they're
lovely, aren't
engaging, they're always lovely. Okay, but also the people running the show there. I know commercially it's very different, and that's a reflection of South Africa as a country, not the team. You've got Rassie at the helm. Now, the reason why I mention kind of all them things in that order, because I don't know if you watch Chasing the Sun.
they? Loved it.
There you go. The fact that Rassie has set up an ecosystem within that squad that no player, Sia Khaleesi, one of the greatest who ever done it, Ebenezer, one of the Peter Stick, the list is endless within that team, Cheslin Colby. No player is bigger than the team or bigger than the country or bigger than future-proofing the sport. They didn't get a say who's filming what. And the fact that on Chasing the Sun 2, they filmed, from the outside, the door ajar, Ebenezer and Dwayne Vermeulen, who clearly didn't get on, sorting out their differences, or they wouldn't play. Rassie said that, and you got to get an insight into two of the hardest mother ever to have played the game during a World Cup, having an uncomfortable conversation. I'm like, wow. And that's Rassie.
That's rugby, though.
That's rugby.
Yeah.
That's rugby.
Yeah.
And that is where, when I'm getting goosebumps talking about, when we were looking at that show, I was like, this is it.
That's why I liked it. And Rassie did a pre-match speech, and they were playing Wales actually, and I remember he put up the team sheet, the Welsh team sheet, and South African team sheet, and it was quite nice because Wales we really like leaned in on our working class background that we come from, hard working, never give up, like very resilient group over the years I was playing, and they were playing in this World Cup year just before I retired, and he was like, it was nice to hear, and he was right. He went, now these boys, they're different to the other teams we play. Discussing Wales, he goes, they're more like us, from similar backgrounds, not affluent people. But I remember, and he was bang on. He had the two team sheets up, and he said, but tell me which one of them in the Welsh squad has got more effing muscle than you. Not fucking one. Because rugby, mate, is a physical, uncompromising sport where 99% of the time, the more physical team wins. Because at that level, everyone's skilled, mate. We all got tactics, we all got skill, all got fitness. But it's often the ones with that physicality and emotion that when you equate everything else that it comes through. And I watched that and I thought, yes, because that's how I played the game. I actually loved playing South Africa the most because I loved that physical and emotional challenge that they brought. And that was great for if you're that minded, that's what you want to be up against. So when people are like, what's it like facing the Hacker, facing South Africa? I'm like, don't get me wrong, they were obviously better teams than the teams I played in. And they want you to go, oh yeah, it's intimidating. You're like, nah, I loved it. I freaking loved it, but they embraced that and they showed it on Chasing the Sun. And that's why, like, that's a coach I would just run through brick walls for, because that's the game. And that's what you can imagine my coaches, the ones I really like, Gatland, Sean Edwards, Farrell, they all lean into that side. And they don't say it in press conferences because they know people might not like it. But that's there's many things to win a game, but that's a massive part of winning games. And South Africa just like put it all out there. This is how we win rugby, and that's their superpower. They've lent into it and they showed the world it. And I love the fact they did that. So credit to them for doing that.
They're always ahead of the curve, South Africa. They on everything, on player development, on this stuff that we're talking about now. And I just reiterate, they just can't, because of the country and everything politically there. Commercially, they just can't line it up. I think they were trying to sell part of or all of the union. So they wanted someone to come in and buy South African rugby, and they were talking to an American investor, which I can understand why. I think New Zealand the All Blacks have done a similar thing, because they are sat on the greatest ecosystem of rugby.
I think that, and Brian Abana had to tell me this because I asked him, I was like, how, I don't understand how they can't have like their version of the French league, the top 14. They got the player base easily. And he was just like, mate, the country is just, it's hard to make it commercially viable. Because you think that being such a proud rugby nation, they could have their own domestic league of like X amount of top teams, and they got so many players. They got enough players to do it. but they just can't, it's hard to make it happen. But I'd love to see. That's why they've obviously come up to the Northern Hemisphere to play, and I love the novelty of them coming up to play the North. But I've always been like, I don't know how they can't sustain their own league, but obviously they've got their challenges, which I don't understand because I don't live there. But when people who live there, they're like, oh, we got the player base to do it, but I think commercially is very difficult, which is sad really, because they are one of the greatest rugby nations. Them and New Zealand, you have to put as the two greatest rugby nations in history. But they got such a. They're the two things that strike you when you play South Africa or New Zealand. Is just the number of people and their attitude towards rugby. I thought it was big in Wales. It is big in Wales, but you go there and you're like, wow, this is like, it means so much to them. But I love that, But I'd love South Africa to be able to probably not have the difficulties that they have, because it would be scary how much better they could be if they had all that infrastructure back home as well.
Yeah, I was chatting to my mate who's involved in some of the academies there, and we're talking about like R.G. Snyman and Peter Stuff Toy, these freaks that have come through the system. And there's been loads, right? It's not just them. You can go back through to the 80s. And he said, you want to see what's coming through. And that, for me, is the worry, right? Because you look at Scotland rugby, and we'll talk a little bit about Welsh rugby. And, okay, yes, there's the drop-off of participation. I understand that. And everything around the commercial part of the game, which is a separate conversation. But the profile of the athlete now, and I've got kids, so I've got a 14-year-old son, and I'm watching his group of mates' development. Some have gone through puberty, some haven't even started yet. And I'm like, they need to be in an athletic program if they want to play rugby, right? Because of everything around the dangers of the game, neck strength, body position, and the fact that the game is so hybrid now. It's not, oh, you're tall, you're in the second row. You could be 6'5" and play in the centre. Oh, you're the fat one at the minute, you're in the front row, which is a really compromised position to be in. So I'm like, now, if Scotland rugby, specifically because I'm there and I'm watching it unfold, the way things are now, in 5 years' time, you are not going to compete specifically with South Africa. It's not happening. It's gone. The game will be gone at that point now, because at the age of 14, you need to be profiling these athletes. Okay, you're tall. Okay, we need to bring you into... You're probably not going to make it, because probability tells you that, right? But we need to give you the opportunity. We'll put you into an athletic program. You'll be doing judo. Okay, you've not gone through puberty yet, so we're not going to put you into the weights program, but you're going to be doing functional training. You're going to be doing bodyweight squats. You're going to be doing all, and this is your area of expertise. Because these South African fucking monsters went through puberty at 10 years old. And they are in these programs. Hundreds of them are in these programs. And that is the worry for me, where I'm trying to... So whereas before I kind of took a backward step with my lad's kind of program that he's in, because he plays basketball for Scotland as well, and we're pushing that, and now he's playing in the centre, and he's a great offloader, but physically he's nowhere near it. And I'm looking at these schoolboys, in South Africa specifically, but you could look at New Zealand. I'm scared to think what they look like in Fiji. We are, and Wales will be the same. England are okay, Ireland are okay, because they've got programs in place. But you think it's bad now, the difference of talent and discrepancy of us not beating South Africa, Scotland specifically. We might have a one-off game. What's coming around the corner could be dangerous, I feel.